replace main board with the latest generation stuff, you can take your old main board and put it into this little cooler $30 Cooler Master case and make like a little headless server out of it. So that's kind of neat. Um, they're coming out with a 16-inch model that's going to have a GPU and everything in it. This is what like I said, I just play with hardware, and so for me, this is almost a business expense, but in a way for my consulting stuff. But um, yeah, I just wanted to check it out. It seemed, I've spent I've spent a few $100s on dumber things before, but yeah, uh, I think you can get Ubuntu or let's see, choose your framework laptop. You can get an AMD or an Intel one. I would go with the AMD if you're doing Linux. Let's see what. Yeah, you can get memory operating system. You can get Windows. Oh, I guess on the AMD you can get Windows or bring your own, which they just zip it blank and you just install whatever on it. Um, but they do support Linux and will, field questions on the forums for it. But the little module system is kind of neat, so you can configure it with these little ports and you can swap them out. So if you want USB-A, you can do that. Like I said, I was just kind of curious and I figured, um, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But the Mac's still doing okay. It's still doing great. I'm frustrated by Mac OS a lot, but um, it's kind of a necessary evil. Um, yeah, is what it is. I still have my old Dell 9720, or old to me, laptop too. That's a 12th gen, but I've had so many issues with Linux and 12th gen Intel mobile stuff and my testing and consulting stuff that I'm just like, I hardly take that thing out anymore because it's um they don't sleep correctly, the power states, they freak out, the track, I mean, it's a year and a half old at this point, and it's so buggy. So it's just Intel's really dropping the ball on Linux stuff. It's been about the worst Linux experience on an Intel platform I've had in probably more than a decade. So, yeah. Anyway, but the Mac is really amazing. It's really fast. I like it. I don't like some of the stuff around it, which is why I'm kind of looking at the framework as an alternative down the road. I guess this is a nice thing about having disposable income at this age to a degree, and not we don't I've paid off my college loans. I don't really have any debt outside of the mortgage. I guess the car payment now, and so I was just like, let's try this out. But yeah, I don't know. I do like getting the most out of hardware, but with the video and the graphics work and the I don't really game that much these days anymore. Um, staying too old really kind of hampers that. Really, actually, I find games to be better. It could be that I'm just turning into a old person, but games seem to be better optimized than web browsers these days. If you want to know the one thing that pushes a computer, it's um, Microsoft Teams and Chrome. Like that is my friend at Dell who works at Dell says that's you know Teams users, they have to start them. They can't sell any 16 gig configurations to them. They have to sell 32 gig or 64 gigs. Just but that's it's not really games. Like I play the games that I play run on a pretty fairly modest configuration. It's Chrome and Microsoft Teams, those Electron apps. I mean, Microsoft was bragging about getting Microsoft Teams launch time down to like 9 or 10 seconds on a multi-core system with 64 gigs of RAM, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Anyway, but yeah, that's really the thing I find pushes it a lot is that groupware and business productivity software these days, because it's all written in JavaScript and runs on a Chrome window. So anyway, but yep, that's kind of what I've been up to. Um, I guess by the next time we'll have Self. I haven't heard anything out of Southeast Linux Fest this year. I don't know if they're accepting talks or what. Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to.
All right. Thank you, Leander.
Yep.
Pete, what you up to? You're muted, Pete.
Okay. I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
I've been hanging out in the nice weather down here in Florida. The weeds are starting to grow like crazy, so I'm getting out of here pretty soon. I'm spending my time with this Raspberry Pi, trying to get a NAS running on it. I got to watch out. I get started on that, and the next thing I look up, and it's 6 o'clock and time to think about dinner, and I haven't done a thing. And it happens often. So I'll be glad when I get that.
I feel you, Pete. I feel you.
Hopefully I'll get that squared away. I'm going to check out Dan's recommendation for Open Media Vault, see if I can get that going. I had a question, Brett. You said you helped somebody update their gaming or get a new gaming computer. My grandson's graduating from high school, and I got to come up with a gift for him. What did you go with?
You really the what you need to start is decide on a budget, and then within that budget, what obviously what kind of games do they play? Are they super graphics intensive? Usually they are. And then you have to decide within that budget, like what's the best balance. And I'm no expert, and I don't keep up with it. So every time it's time to update, it's like learning what's out there and what the recommendations are.
Okay.
But yeah, it's there are good resources. I can't name them off the top of my head, but there are some good websites to compare hardware. I usually would visit Reddit to see what some basic recommendations are for budget, and then build from there. Yeah, I would agree with Leander with what he said about the Radeons. I forget the model we went with. I think we went with a 6650, and he seemed happy with that. And that was based upon a build that came in probably just shy of $1,000.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but if it, like I said, it just depends on your budget and what your goals are. Like what we spent a bundle on SSD. I think we got a 4 terabyte SSD in his, so that drove up the overall price quite a bit. But yeah, it just depends what your goals are, and yeah, it's start with the budget and then see what work on Excel. And actually, there's some. What did I use? There's a site that basically allows you to like build a system, throw in the stuff, make sure it's all compatible with each other, and then you can use that to both budget and make sure that you're not doing anything stupid.
Okay, great. Thanks for the update on the Radeon, Leander, and on the Open Media Vault website. Let's see. I had one other question. Oh, question. So my latest and greatest old Raspberry Pi is a 3B Plus, and I know they're up to, I don't even remember what they call them now, but for me, the big selling point on the Raspberry Pi was they were $35. Is that still true? And are they available, whatever the current stuff is? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
They are $35, but are not available.
Correct.
So you can buy them on the secondary market for a lot more than $35, or you can wait indefinitely.
Right.
Well, I've been waiting for a while. I'll wait some more. Okay, that's about all I've got there.
Yeah, Pete, I've got a 3B Plus and a Model 4. The Model 4's got 4 gigs of RAM, and that's what I use for my Docker containerization. So it's great.
So is it just a plain Raspberry Pi 4? Is that what they call it?
Model 4.
Okay.
4 gig. They have an 8 gig model as well.
Okay. Okay, good.
But you're not going to be able to get it right now. That's the problem.
Well, hopefully someday.
Yeah.
By then they'll be ancient.
So the site did pop into my head that I used to sort of review the build. I think that's PC Part Picker, although it is not the only site and certainly may not be the best.
Okay. Got it. That's it for me.
All right. Thanks, Pete. Rusty?
He's asleep.
If you're talking Rusty, you are muted. Okay, I don't know if Rusty's not there or it looks like he's coming up red, so maybe having some
He
connectivity.
passed on the far side of the moon.
Yeah, well, he's turned yellow, so there's some hope.
He's hit that Lagrange point.
Yeah. Oh, now he's green, but not off mute. So we'll assume that he cannot hear us or is off doing other things. Did I miss anybody else other than Rusty and myself? I've not been. Usually I make notes.
I
And,
think you're it, Brent.
yeah, there's such a few of us. I didn't do that. Well, as far as me, it's been pretty much standard. Not doing a lot hobby-wise. Like I reconfigured my desk situation, and that's going great with the standing desk, and didn't really change up the way I'm doing my tech, other than I've thought about moving to a multiple monitor situation, but I haven't. Still running Mint, and it's still working great. Like I said, I think I do have some mild hardware issues that plague me every now and again, but I haven't bothered fixing it. It's not. It's probably either my processor or my motherboard, which neither am I really super keen on replacing. Beyond that, same old. Work has kind of been a little bit weird. We've cycled through a lot of bosses, and now we've tried to do. We've done something a little bit odd. Is that my newest boss is somebody who used to be like a junior engineer. So like her title was security analyst. So basically the step below what I do. And we've decided to elevate her to the director of IT security, which is it's a big opportunity for her, but I think she's got the goods, and it's going to be interesting to see where her leadership takes us, because the last guy just was not engaged. I think he came in with certain ideas, his ideas were interrupted by a lack of budget, it's sort of a clash of cultures, and then he got disengaged and left. So there was very limited time of his exciting new ideas before he became disengaged. And I think having someone who's up and coming and very much within our culture will be cool to have. So plus she knows who I am, what I do, so it's not like someone's going to come in and tell me I have to do things differently. So there's a selfish aspect to it. I think I'll be able to just keep treating work like my little toy, like I often do, and just improve security the way I'm accustomed to doing it. That being said, it leaves open a technical position for, hopefully we can bring in some outside folks with some new experiences, because that we tend to be very insular in the market we're in, and it's nice to have new ideas. It's not always easy to get folks with fresh new ideas, especially if we're hiring internally. It's nice to hire internally sometimes, but not always. So that's boring, I'm sure. So I'll stop talking about that. And let's see if Rusty can talk. Ooh, Rusty came off mute.
Yeah,
So,
I'm back.
had to go get some gasoline for a neighbor. It's that time of year when everyone runs out of fuel periodically with all the machines running. Um, I'm I'm having to attend to concrete, my new installed radon system, completing a remodel on a house, and more landscaping, get all the fleet of different machines running properly. But back to computers. Um, I, I'm still treading water on the question of whether I'm going to have a thinking uh, assistance like Obsidian that Dan has talked about, or whether I'm going to just stick with a something like Cherry or Zim or even Zotero for my note taking. So I'm leaving. That's still in the wings, trying to decide who should be on stage, um, and then I I I'm having a revival of an interest that's been long standing, and that is the interest in commenting software, which is for what I call sentence level commenting, that can be very non um, obstructive and invasive in what I call seminal documents. And I'm going to need to return to that issue, so I'm going to probably start bothering Dan more about Drupal. Uh, the use of this is different than blogging, is similar to blogging, only what it is to give, when you have a seminal document that is stored by a library or by an organization, and it needs to be referred to regularly and needs to be expanded with greater discussion, then the document becomes what I would call a lattice work for ongoing discussion. And a seminal document should be a jump starter to discussion, and it allows everyone to at least have a common beginning, even though what you might call subgroup discussions will inevitably follow afterwards. I have become aware of a software that is in use by the library at the college that I went to, and it is open source and it's based on Drupal. It's called Island. I'm going to block on the name here. Islandora, like an island, like Santa Catalina with the suffix Dora, Islandora. It's based on Drupal, and it's maintained, updated 2 or 3 times a year, in use at a lot of libraries. And and it depends on a package of libraries, I guess, called Fedora Commons. I hope that doesn't mean that it needs to be installed on a Fedora distribution of Linux. I'm hoping that means that it's a set of libraries that will run on any Linux, but that remains to be seen. What I don't know yet, all I know is that I'm not aware of it being deployed with what I call sentence level commenting. And to me, the only ground rules of sentence level commenting are that anyone should be able to read the document with no interference from any comments. So they're totally, you toggle it and it conveys nothing. But when you toggle it to comments, you need a marker at every sentence that has become a what would I call it, a root for a branched comment that may contain other references to other documents, very much like the same way in Wikipedia, when you read about one item on Wikipedia, you of course have embedded references to other supporting documents. But anyway, that's what that's the next round of interest. It's a recurring interest. Anybody that has had an experience as a user or as a manager of a commenting system under Drupal or any other document management system, let me know. So that's what that's the bee in my bonnet currently.
Well, Rusty, I went and looked at Islandora while you were talking, and it looks just like a Drupal website. It's a digital asset management software package, open source. So I'll have to investigate it.
Yeah. Well, I do believe that Drupal has some commenting systems. I'm sure it does. I'm just not sure how they're enabled, if they are enabled at all in this Islandora version of Drupal. But to me, it's really critical that the commenting not be the old-fashioned end of document commenting. That's what drives the blogging world. You have the weekly or daily installment from the blogger, and any comments are dumped, literally dumped, in the end of the document with no context to some specific expansion or critique of well, let me just say, ideas tend to come in bursts of statements, and a burst of a thought is what we call a sentence. So to me, if you don't have sentence level commenting, you really have not served a collection of thoughts, and to try to construct how would I say, contextual discussion. If it's all dumped at the end of the document, then it may be good for counting clicks and rewarding the blogger for, a visitor or whatever. But it's not a way to engage in discussion that's pointed. So anyway, that's the big deal to me, sentence level commenting. It is, and even within that, there can be various versions of what you would call threaded commenting. But to me, it has to branch out from a topical point, and that is a critical sentence. That's assuming that you have a seminal document that precedes the discussion.
Rusty, I took a look at it, and what you're referring to basically is being able to comment embedded within the document itself off the side rather than at the bottom where it gets lost.
Right.
And that's what it looks like Islandora lets you do. I belong to an organization called academia.edu, and because I was working on a PhD where I put a lot of my papers up on the site, and it allows you to take a document and do that. So that's what it looks like Islandora that you do too. I'll have to investigate it.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing what you whatever you can deduce from reading about it. the question of all these things is to understand where it can take you and what its resources are. Do you have to jump in and swim, or can you stay on shore and get a travelogue report?
Right. Exactly. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Anything else, Rusty?
No, that's it. That's it.
All right. Well, that's it for going through the list. And does anyone have anything else before we break a little bit early? All right then. Well,
Yeah.
Leander, sorry.
I said no. I was gonna say no. I think I'm out for. Yeah, I'm just getting hungry.
Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone. And
I have one comment. Gentlemen, start your lawnmowers.
Brett, I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
Have you been standing up at your stand-up desk all this time?
I have. I do this all day, every day. I have it. One thing I've like, I don't do like the adjustable sit down, sometimes stand up. So if I want to sit down, like I'll use my, when I need to like research something, and I probably should have either a tablet or reconfigure my laptop so it's more convenient for this. But I have a chair right behind me, so I can
Okay.
just sit in a chair and absolutely just relax for a few moments if I do get tired of standing.
Wow.
But yeah, it's the new normal. I did have a question. Leander, you mentioned the vague possibility of doing something in June. Is that something you're interested in doing?
Maybe. Yeah. I just checked. I thought about presenting itself this year, but they've already closed everything's already closed registration. Or closed speakers. But yeah, I might be able to do something in June or July. Give me a couple weeks here. I can come up with something. Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, the last couple weeks have been just like a smear of um, yeah. I've been messing with S3 APIs and for like managing certificates on Akamai and stuff like that. I'm not sure if I'm really at or if that's really interesting. But yeah, give me about a week. Give me a week to sit down and write down some topics and think about it, and I can probably do something in June. Talk about something in June. So just drawing a blank right now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well,
Well, if you're going outside, I think I just found a small tick on my leg. I don't know if tick season has started, but you might want to be careful.
I had a tick nymph months ago that I saw when I was in the gym. I'm like, how did you get there? And it was in there. And I have heard through the grapevine that a lot of folks are doing. I mean, I hear it every year, like, oh, it's a bad year for ticks. So I take a bit with a grain of salt. It's like people see ticks, they're like, oh, it's a bad year for ticks. There's always ticks. But I've certainly encountered quite a few already.
Be careful, because I had to have one surgically removed.
Whoa.
This
Yeah.
one in my leg was not like as straightforward as just pulling it out. It was kept trying to get infected.
Well, this one was so small, I'm not even sure it's a tick, but that's what it looked like. Maybe
I've
it's on.
been trying to get ahead of that with getting everything cut back and down this time of year, because last year, like I think the humidity and whatever else, I got ticks going out to get the mail, just like the grass around the mailbox is mildly tall, and that was legitimately the worst year I've seen ticks. So
Be careful, Larry. Size doesn't indicate. The deer ticks that cause Lyme disease are tiny.
Yeah. I was going to say my dental hygienist got Lyme disease from a tick and it almost killed her.
My wife fought Lyme disease. She went 12 years undiagnosed many years ago, and they finally diagnosed it, and she was on these antibiotics for another 8 years, $1,000 a month. Thank goodness the insurance company covered it. but she claimed that it still kept coming back periodically
Oh,
for
really?
years afterwards.
Yep, that's right.
Well, be careful out there. I have guinea hens. They're supposedly good at getting ticks, but I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they're not.
That's what I've heard too, but I don't know if they're really that effective or not. I'm trying to get rid of the grubs and the because the moles, the moles and the voles are tearing up the yard and the garden and everything. And somebody said if you can get rid of the grub worms, that's their main food, and they'll move on to someone else's yard. So I may that's my main pest at the moment. So, but yeah,
Brent, what's a good number for guineas?
Depends if you like noise. If you don't like noise, 0.
they are stupid too. Like I mean, they are like
They like challenging the car.
yeah.
And they think they might win. What else do they do? My real annoyance with them is they like the chickens, for whatever reason, seem to understand that there's a boundary in which they live, that this is their property. The guineas basically they're all over the neighborhood. So they get run over by cars because they'll be in the road, and they're just yeah, they don't.
How many do you have?
Right now I have 4. I may have 5. I haven't completely given up hope that the 5th one is on a nest somewhere. That's certainly where she was, but I think she got picked off one night. So
Oh, no.
I don't think that's truly the case.
They are not. They are. I mean, they. I mean that we had them growing up, and they are. Yeah, yeah. I've seen a few guineas, just run out in front of a car, and then it's just like a feather pillow explodes. They just are not. Yeah, they're not the evolutionarily. I don't know how that bird got as far as it did. So
Well, they're domesticated, so they're kind of locked in now.
yep.
Yeah, chickens seem smart by comparison, for sure. All right. Well, thanks all. I'll see you next month.
Okay,
Yeah.
take care.
Right.
About what we're doing.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Brett.
Bye.